I'm Joanna Fantozzi, Senior Editor with Nation's Restaurant News. I'm here with Frank Paci, CEO of Newk's Eatery. Nice to be with you.
Nice to be here.
Hope you're having a good show so far.
I am having a good show. It's it's great to see people in the industry that I've known, and there's been a lot of great data from some of the sessions, so it's been very informative.
Yeah, absolutely. What's something that you learned that you were really appreciative to hear?
Well, in one of the sessions, they were talking about loyalty, and it was really interesting. They surveyed the crowd and said, what does everybody think? How many loyalty apps do people have on their phones? And people thought it was, double digits and whatever. But the data says that only like 14% of people have more than 4 apps on the phone. So really, recruiting that loyalty member and trying to keep them is an important part of the business. For us, it's over 25% of our sales. So, we for a program that we rolled out like 3 years ago, I feel like we're doing very well with that. And, so it's great to have those loyal guests and try to figure out how do we get more of them. So.
Yeah. What is besides it being an important part of your strategy, what is your loyalty strategy?
Our loyalty strategy is, we're not a big discounting brand, right? So we have point programs where you can earn free, but one of the things that we've done, which we feel like has been very successful, is we have challenges that we'll do monthly. And so one of the other pieces of data that they talked about is if it's too hard to get free food, people won't participate in it. So they were talking about 3 to 5 visits turning into something free. So one of the things we've been doing is these frequency challenges, which is if you come 3 times within a month, which we know is way above kind of the average frequency, you can get a free pizza or something like that. And so we've seen a lot of success with people who kind of increase their frequency in order to be able to get something because they know what it takes to earn it. I think it gets hard if you've got a loyalty program where you don't know, well, how often do I have to come and what do I get? And so I think the simpler you make it, the better. So.
Yeah, and I think gamification, as you just mentioned, is huge. It's just psychological, and then people love to be able to compete and try and get to that kind of like next prize. Oh, if I go one more time a month, I can get a free pizza. I'm surprised that gamification hasn't become a part of every single loyalty app. It just seems like it should be.
Well, and I think the more tangible you make it, because we've done them where come in 3 times and get 1,500 points, but then you have to know what 1,500 points is.
Yep.
Which 1,500 points is a free pizza, right? So we basically just said, hey, let's not worry about that. Let's just say, hey, you come in and you get this, right? And so it was interesting. We were doing that like once a quarter, and now we're doing it kind of every other month because we really do see people take up on that. So I'd really thought about it as being a game, but I guess it is. It's something where hey, you're going to do this. And I think, the more familiar you make them with how the program works, the more people will access it. So
yeah, absolutely. Besides loyalty, what are your priorities lately? Last we spoke, we were talking about new ownership, not so new anymore.
Right. Yeah, so our, one of the things we've been doing is trying to leverage some of those things. We certainly have increased buying power, which helps us in terms of our margins in the business, which is great. It enables us, because I think the other big conversation here is pricing and tariffs and all these kind of things. We feel like we've been able to hold our prices relatively stable because of some of the buying opportunities we've got on the cost side, right? So our margins have been able to increase without us having to take prices on some of the things. So I think that's been a real helpful benefit of being part of a bigger company. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you kind of have that like safety net, right? So you don't have to keep increasing prices, which is important because as we've kind of been learning here, and you don't even need to go to RLC to know this, is that the consumer is very sensitive lately,
right.
And just they are not opening their wallets as much, and the consumer confidence really is down.
Right, and I think you've seen that certainly happen this year more than what we were seeing previously, right? I mean, obviously prices have been going up for a while, but I think that if you see all the press on consumer confidence, I think there's a little bit of a self-enforcing circle there where people hear, well, consumer confidence is down, so then you feel bad about things, right? So,
it's true.
Right, I mean, there's a little bit of that, which is a self-fulfilling prophecy to say, oh, well, everybody feels bad. Maybe I should feel bad even if I didn't feel bad about it. So.
Right, you're like, oh, clearly I should be spending less.
Yes, that's
What's
right.
going on?
Right.
Has that hit you guys at all? Really? I mean, maybe not quite as much if you're not raising prices, but.
Well, I think there's been a lot of stuff. Obviously, the weather has been tough the beginning of this year, and then with Easter being a different time, you get into when you look at comparables. It's really hard to say, well, what's happening? When was spring break this year? When was spring break last year? As you look at those things, in general, we got some that are doing well and some that are doing poorly. I mean, we had 7 inches of snow in Pensacola. That's never great. That's never great for our business, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think there's also this that short term versus long term, because in the short term you might have something like a snowstorm, but if you would look at the long term kind of trends of what consumers are doing, maybe it is affecting you, maybe not so much.
One of the things we've tried to do is, as part of our innovation, is look at how do we develop either new products or new offers that are attractive from a operator economics, but also attractive from a guest standpoint. So we launched wraps in the fall. We had never had wraps before, and we designed the product where the costs on that product are slightly lower, and so as a result, we were able to offer that at an attractive price point. So.
Yeah. And I remember when that happened, when you launched wraps for the first time. Do you think that's kind of bringing people in, maybe people that haven't come in as much? Oh, I have to try these wraps.
Well, I think there were two pieces of that from a strategic standpoint. One is to have that lower price point, but also gave us a broader offering for our catering business. So our catering business has been up sequentially for the last 4 years, and so having that, and our number one selling product is the Newk's Q. And we never had anything that had our signature white barbecue sauce. Now we have a wrap that's got the signature white barbecue sauce, so we can actually do that as part of a wrap. So
I'm glad you mentioned catering, because that is something that's a category that I just feel like has really exploded in recent years. I think even more so than pre-pandemic. And so how has, I guess, catering evolved as a channel for you guys?
Well, I think one of the big things has been Easy Cater as a third-party provider, right? You see a lot of that business out there, and there's a lot of ways to go after it. And it really takes a little bit of incremental focus on that business. It's a different business for us. I think part of why you see that is everybody's looking at how do I get traffic, and when I look at catering, it's two things. One, it allows us to expose our brand to people that might not know what a Newk's is, right? Because this person's bringing it in a business setting, and they're saying, wow, that was really good. Maybe I need to go there, right? And then the other opportunity is it's a way for us, when we look at our traffic, we don't really include, if there's 12 sandwiches in there, we're not necessarily including that. And I don't know how the traffic is being measured in the industry. So I do think there's an opportunity there. And it's actually, because you're doing it as a bulk process and you can do it non-peak, it's an actual nice supplement in terms of managing your labor in the business. So.
And speaking of traffic, what do you find is the best traffic boosters for you guys? I feel like traffic has been a challenge for a lot of your colleagues in the industry.
Well, obviously one of the big things is to do offers that are attractive, right? And to me, it's really about how do you. I think of it as a little bit of a puzzle, which is to say, how do I get a great offer to people that is attractive for us? So one of the things we've seen is we do a lot of, 30% of our business is in some kind of what we call a value pairing, right? Where you can get a half sandwich and a cup of soup, or we also have a large pairing where you can get a full sandwich and a cup of soup, or a full pizza and a side salad. We also do a family meal deal where we get 2 pizzas and a full salad for a price, right? So trying to bundle things is a way for us to kind of grow the check, maybe not grow the traffic, because what you have, like when I talk about family meal deal, that's probably 2 or 3 people, but it's showing up as one transaction for us, right? So it shows up as a build in our check, but not necessarily in traffic, but it is a build in our sales. So, and it's interesting to see when we looked at it, we see that area growing and just buying an individual sandwich declining a little bit, right? Wow. So one of the things we're looking at is we're testing a pick 3 where you can do, we've always done a sandwich and a cup of soup, and we've done this full sandwich and a cup of soup. Now we're saying, well, what's the difference? Why don't we do a half sandwich and a cup of soup and a small salad? If somebody wants to do that for like the same price as our large pairing. So just looking at different ways to bundle the products to give the perception. I mean, it's interesting when you talk about value. I always talk about value for the money. It's not having the cheapest product. It's what did you get for what you paid. And to me, that's really where we're trying to focus the business. So.
And so how do you, I guess, differentiate then between kind of having these bundles, these value meals, and versus being, as you said, you're not a discounting brand.
Right. Yeah, so I think the difference is that whenever you're out there screaming 20% off or whatever, people see that as, okay, great, well, I'm just going to wait until the coupon comes, right?
Yeah.
Because ours are everyday offers, right? And if you do the math and say, okay, great, if I bought the sandwich and a cup of soup, it's going to cost me this. If I buy it in a bundle, it's going to cost me less. I think people are doing that math and saying, well, wait a minute, I'd rather get this versus that, and I don't feel bad about it. The other thing that we've historically done is have premium proteins that allow us to differentiate ourselves from some of the other brands. So we have a 6-ounce salmon fillet on a Caesar salmon salad. We do a shrimp po' boy. So we do things where we've got premium products, and when we look at our competitors, they don't offer those products. So we're really, in that case, we're competing against more like casual dining than we are other fast casual.
We're seeing a lot of that where it's like the casual dining kind of more, it's where casual dining is comparing itself these days to quick service, fast casual, more to casual dining. Everybody's mixing around.
Well, yeah, I think because there's a little bit of inside baseball, right? If you talk to someone who doesn't know anything, you say, oh, I run a fast casual restaurant, they're like,
what the heck is that?
Yeah, what the heck is that, right?
The average person has no idea. I know this from
right. That's what I say. The average person has no idea. So I think you have to do a better job defining that for the guest than just kind of going with the nomenclature in the industry. So.
Yeah. And so, hey, looking ahead to the rest of 2025, 2026 beyond, what is on your priority to-do list?
Well, interesting in our priority to do, obviously, we're always looking at quality. So we're looking at some innovative salads for our thing. We're looking at launching a 6-ounce sirloin sandwich and salad. We've had steak historically, but I think this will kind of upgrade what our offering is, and be able to advertise that, and again, we'll keep competing against the casual dining on the things
and sharing SKUs. So
right. And well, and then we talked about the pick 3 in terms of trying to grow our portfolio of different offers, right? Because you never know what's going to click with somebody in terms of what offer they have and what's going to make them want to come back, right? So.
All right, great. I think that's all the questions I have. Thank you so much for joining us, Frank Paci of Newk's Eatery.
Thank you for having me.